Hey guys, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I meet with Shovana. She is the owner of Extravagant Affair. It's an event planning company. They also do catering and they do rentals, and they're located in the Washington, D.C. area. Great episode. Check it out. Shovana, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you guys are located. Tell me your website address. Tell me your Instagram account. All that great stuff.
Wonderful, and thank you for having me. So my name is Shovana Williams. I'm the CEO and founder of Extravagant Affairs, catering, rental, and decor. We're located in Gainesville, Virginia, which is about 50 minutes outside of the DC area. Been in business for about 10 years now, this past September. Woohoo, right?
Nice, right? Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So we're excited about that, but we are a full service catering, event management, and rental and decor company. And so that's a mouthful, right? Our website is www.myextravagantaffairs.com. And our Facebook page is Extravagant Affairs, as well as our Instagram handle is Extravagant Affairs as well. So pretty easy, not too much to guess at.
So what made you decide to get into the event planning and rental space? It's kind of a combination of the two, right?
Right. I mean, they pretty much are a marriage chain. They kind of go hand in hand. For me, I was on the other side in hospital care for a good duration of my life. And then when my younger son, Brandon, shifted over from high school to go to college, I wanted to pretty much spend more time with him. And project management pretty much is what I've done. Like I said, and that kind of goes hand in hand with event planning, wedding planning, coordination, that whole thing. So if you can pretty much do that in the corporate sector,
do it anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So of course, brides are a different animal, right? But for the most part, it's all about customer service, aligning yourself with the client, and pretty much having a good ear, a listening ear, and pretty much bringing into focus what their desires are and executing that for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What was your other question?
Yeah, I was just, when you do rent, so when you say you do the event planning part and the rentals, do you guys have a separate business that does the rental stuff itself, or in a separate business that does the event planning, or it's a combination of the two?
It's a combination of the two. So I have a lot of equipment that I pretty much purchased myself. A couple of years back, went to China, got a whole lot of, chair rentals, things like that.
Gotcha.
Linen, pretty much try to cut out the middleman, if you will.
Yeah.
For a lot of, not a lot of things, like in terms of China, things of that nature, because that requires more equipment of cleaning and things like that. And so I wasn't going to invest in that.
Sure.
So I do partner out with that, as well as the tents, shuttle buses,
But certain things, it makes it easy to, like as an event planner, right? When you're planning events, if and I think that's really smart that you did that. Like you looking at your supply chain and going, look, I can have certain things on hand that would cut out the middleman, and it would make it easier for me to provide those, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
Yeah.
And it helps with saving the cost savings for the client when I own it.
Yeah.
If I partner, of course, you already know, then that means that I have to bump up my profit margin, because I have to give a percentage to, my outsourced, vendor, as well as make a profit for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So with eliminating them and kind of owning the stuff that what I know are the most must have, and the most requested equipment that I can pretty much maintain, me and my team can maintain on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And of course, we went ahead and made the sacrifice and made the purchase for them.
Yeah, that's good. That's smart business. So what is your typical event look like? So do you do like the full service planning? Do people come to you for the wedding coordination, a few months prior? Are you doing everything for them, or is it a combination of those things?
Well, for the catering piece chain we added like 3 years ago.
Okay.
So, when I started off, it was more or less the wedding planning.
Gotcha.
The planning from the beginning to the end. And then adding on, of course, coordination, because you had a lot of, do-it-yourself brides out there that kind of went through their segment, and then they get to 30 days of and start pulling their hair out. Either,
Yeah,
and
right.
or either the fiance or the parents end up hiring me, saying, look, at this point, we don't know if we're going to, she's going to get down the aisle if we don't get her some help.
Yeah.
So then they hire us. A lot of our client base, the majority of them are multicultural. So we do a lot of people from different backgrounds, Nigerian, South Asian. That's pretty much our specialty.
Interesting, yeah.
As you can see, I'm an African-American woman owner, but for the most part, that is my high clientele. They make up about 85% of my weddings.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah. Well, so I got to imagine that you pretty much set a really good name for yourself, and you get a lot of referrals from other people that have been to your events, or know that, hey, or friend of someone that you did an event for, to go, hey, look, if you really want a really great event, she's very skilled in this particular aspect, you should go talk to her.
Absolutely. And I think that is my client base. That's where pretty much my referral is, word of mouth. I don't have to do a lot of advertisement on Yelp, Google ads, and things of that nature. I may run a couple, at the beginning of the year, just to kind of make sure that people that were out there and things of that nature. But for the most part, when you have weddings that start minimum at 400 to 800, those guests that are sitting there, they're watching, right? They're watching and they're seeing, from beginning to end, because these are like 14-hour days. The wedding will start, at 7 and 8 in the morning, and it will go until midnight, 1 o'clock. So, these potential clients are sitting in the chair and they're watching. And so they're like, in their minds, hey, and my daughter hasn't even gotten engaged yet. That was one of my clients. And he said, you know what, when I saw you at a friend of ours wedding, his daughter's wedding, my daughter hadn't even been proposed yet. She didn't even have her fiance yet. He said, but I knew I was going to hire you. Yeah. And lo and behold, she got, proposed to, and they called their old friend, hey, can you give us that name of your planner? And so that's kind of pretty much how it's been going, which is great.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So your average wedding is 400 to 800 guests.
Correct.
And so multicultural usually is a lot of days, right? Like there's multiple days involved.
3 days, right?
Yeah, usually. So when a client comes to you, they're coming to you as a referral usually. Let's talk about what does that process look like. So someone's told them about you, they call you, email you, whatever. What do you go through with them?
More or less, I definitely have to go through a Q&A. It's a brief Q&A just to see where they are in the planning process, if at all, and then set up a consultation. Generally, for me, this whole virtual thing, I've been doing since the inception of my business.
That's awesome.
So if the fiance is pretty much in another city and the bride is here locally, it just makes more sense to, like I say, get the details, check date availability, if we're available for that date and time, what the guest size looks like, the guesstimated, what price points they're looking at. Once we kind of pretty much go through that quick mini reg, then I say, okay, let's set up an appointment to either meet face-to-face or, by way of WebEx. And so basically we schedule the call. We kind of go through, like I said, a questionnaire that I have, just kind of getting a level set of what their expectations are, out of a coordinator or a planner. And then pretty much seeing if that's a good fit. I mean, although we love all clients, we've come to the point where every client is not our client. Yeah. And so being honest, after listening to the client and pretty much answering any particular questions they have, or the majority of the time they have the family on the line, kind of meeting on the call. So pretty much going through that quick Q&A with them. And once everyone's pretty much level set, I will give them at least 3 business days to, think about it and then reach back out to me. We'll put a tentative hold on the date that they inquired about.
Yeah.
And then I always let them know, think about it. And if you want to move forward with us, then, just send us an email and we'll go ahead and send you a proposal, an electronic proposal for your review and consideration based off of what we talked about and discussed. But if I don't hear from you, don't worry. That tentative hold will fall off and it'll release back into, date availability inventory. So for me, it's not a push, it's not a hassle, it doesn't put them on the spot, because we all know that sometimes you're just not a right fit.
Yeah. So what would you say are probably like the biggest disqualifiers or not right fit kind of things that you have found when having meetings with the couples?
Their expectations and more or less what they're looking for at the price that they're looking for it at.
Gotcha.
So basically, if I'm in my Q&A with them and they're pretty much saying, but I need you to, I specifically need you to do this, not only to plan it, not only to be there for the 3 days or maybe 2 of the days, but I'm going to need, X, Y, Z in conjunction of all of that in the scope of what your checklist said that, the services that you're going to provide in this package,
Right.
And I always tell them, you can always add a la carte. You can always add up if you want, but the package is what the package is.
Yeah.
And sometimes they go, well, our budget doesn't, we didn't price point for that. It's not, falling into our budgetary price point line. And I'm not going to barter services because again, when it comes down to 3 days of work, and that's even before that, it's even the meeting time in preparation, online, doing Excel spreadsheets, doing Google Share, where we're keeping the documents live. I'm not going to share all of my good secrets, but for the most part, I think what definitely works for us is the connectivity early on, whether the client comes to us 30 days prior or a year prior. I basically make it a habit to make sure that I communicate with the client every month. I don't care, I'm with them. I may give them, an email, hey, how are you? But I do a pulse check. I want to know how they're doing. And, they're like, well, I know I only, hired you for day of. And I said, there's really no such thing as day of. There's no way you can, hire someone, someone qualified, someone professional, and kind of transfer your information and think that your day is going to be executed, nothing is 100%, but definitely that's unrealistic. So if you hire and I'm coming in, these are the expectations that I can guarantee. So basically once you have that conversation with them, because they truly don't know what a planner is, even from a coordinator. So I find myself more or less kind of educating them and then letting them make the decision, do you still need me? Do you still need, someone like me? Even if it's not me, as you're going out vetting, agencies such as myself, these are the questions, hopefully that you want to ask anyone. Yeah,
that makes sense. So you offer the full service planning, I would imagine, particularly for multi-day events, but do you offer like a coordination package as well? And then I think you mentioned day of, which there's really no such thing as a day of, but
correct.
Do you offer different levels of package and then you layer on the catering and the rentals on top of that?
Correct.
Okay.
And so they can build their own. They can build it based on where they are and what their needs are. They may have a venue already, right? That's the first thing that, clients, brides and grooms are going to look. Once they secure that venue, maybe that venue is a nice vineyard, or a nice barn home, but it just has the tables, but it doesn't have, the chairs, and it doesn't come with the linen, that type of thing. So basically, this is where the a la carte comes in. And the more services that they retain with us, the more I can kind of package it, a lot nicer and give them a cost savings on that.
Yeah,
So bottom, especially like I said, if I own the items that they're looking for. And then the other caveat, which is really, really great, is just the delivery and pickup fees. Those can be astronomical. If you have 7 different vendors coming, and if their event is over at, have to be picked up the same night, so that the venue can kind of flip the room and reset it for another event, we take all that out, that same night, and that client is not, taxed $250 for a late night pickup for 7 different vendors.
Yeah. I got to imagine that's quite often. That happens quite often in the DC area, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So talk to me about price. What should, realistically, what should brides be thinking, or couples should be thinking about price-wise with you when it comes to like full service, coordination, and then kind of day of, like just ballpark. It doesn't have, because everything's custom.
Everything. Yeah. Everything's custom.
Starting points. What do you think starting points are?
The starting points are like $3,500 for full service, from beginning to end. And that's with RSVP management, and then, the day of. So that's pretty much inclusive in the package.
That's extremely reasonable, by the way.
Because generally, you know what, Shane? Because 9 times out of 10, I get so much other business from them off of that. So for me, I can kind of do it if you don't have other services within your company and you're just a planner, then that wouldn't fit.
No,
but,
right.
Yeah, but because mine is, I don't want to say it's a nice strategic package, and that's why, when the client sits there and say, hey, this is a one-stop shop, I can get this with you, I can get this with you, I said, I'm not going to gas you for 250 Chiavari chairs, at $6 a pop. And then, you're going to do, I'm going to be your wedding planner, coordinator, all that. That you have to strike a balance, right?
Yeah,
but again, like I said, that's just if you have some things in addition to just the planning and the coordination. So then the day of is $1,500. If they want just ceremony only, that's about $650. If they want,
even that's tough. I mean, ceremony only. I mean, come on, that's you still have a ton of work to do to make sure that goes off. I mean,
right, but they get limited hours, and so they can add those hours, which will then. But I'm just telling you, start point. Right.
Good. Okay, good.
So once they do the start point, and as you said, they have an added rehearsal if they need a rehearsal the day before. If they need, items picked up or kind of staged in the ceremony, and then doing the full ceremony. So like I said, they start at that starting point, but by the time they finish with that ticket, the invoice, it's a whole nother.
It depends, right, on what they want. Like I said, everything's custom in this business.
Correct.
Everybody is different. I mean, it just depends on what they want, what their priorities are, that sort
what their culture is, what they need. So that's why I said you can't, when people send me, they go to the website and they send me just a blank inquiry and say, what's your price point? I need to speak with you. I need to listen. So it's mandatory that we do have a conversation so that I know what that looks like to be able to provide a fair, let's say fair and adequate.
Absolutely. So what advice would you give couples when they, getting married today, looking for, not necessarily looking for a planner, but I mean, I think, most planners I've spoken with talk about hire a planner. And I think that's actually a really good idea because there's so many things happening. I mean, I think people have so many options today that there's just too much information that they can get confused about things. So give me some advice for people that are getting married. What advice would you give them?
For people that are getting married, the advice is to definitely carve out a budget for if not a planner, a day of a month of coordinator.
Mhm.
I count that as insurance, such even as a time as this,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
for sure,
Yeah,
right?
with this whole situation that we're going through right now, as well as obtaining insurance, you know, insurance for their event, which we've just partnered with an event insurance company, which is great.
That's great.
Um, yeah, and so I think those two things would help them tremendously to kind of navigate the waters, because it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot. You're planning for one of the most important days of your life, and
Yep.
you're spending a whole lot of money to bring all your friends and family together to for this celebration, as well as an integration of two families,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So in doing all that, I would say don't hire, make your sister or your mother a working guest. I can't stand that. I just say look at your budget and try to, make sure that number one, you do have, like I said, if not a full wedding planner by your side from beginning to end, but to add in that component to budget a month of,
Yeah.
as well as, insurance for your event.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Great advice. Let's switch gears a little bit, talk about the business side. So did you strategically kind of plan out diversifying your business a little bit as you went through this? Like, you know what, I need to have this, I need to have that. Because I've actually heard this from other business owners to say, look, we thought about we needed to have a little bit of diversity in this. So did you strategically plan that out? And if so, congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew that, once I pretty much got my foot in, and got the niche, pretty much learned as much as I needed to know, that I wanted to bring on other components
Mhm.
to fit, to fit what I was doing. And that's what we did,
Yeah.
gradually, as I've already explained to you, we
Yeah.
added
Yeah.
on, just rentals and decor, partnered with floral designers that were pretty much stay-at-home moms that really didn't want to, kind of have flexibility, but more so had a passion,
Yeah.
outside of, the motherhood thing. They were like, you know what, I really would like to, partner with somebody that's reputable, somebody that, pretty much has a lot of foot traffic and can kind of keep me busy, but not have me have to come out of my schedule, to pick up the kids and take them to a soccer league and all that other good stuff.
Mhm.
So definitely creating jobs and opportunities, uh, you know, has been great, as well as being able to pass those services on to our clients. I think
Mhm.
that's a wonderful thing, and I'm
Yeah.
happy every day to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, great stuff. Tell me about what's working well for you as a business. What would you say is working well for you today?
Honestly, Shane, partnerships. Um, Partnerships, not just everybody. You don't want to get in the bed with everybody, right?
Yeah,
But
right, right.
my partnerships are the best. The best. They allow me to really, um, the partnerships have allowed me to branch out and, not only towards the wedding industry, because I didn't want to pretty much want to be painted in that box,
Sure.
as just the wedding planner. You
Yeah,
want
absolutely.
to
Yeah.
come away, yeah, because again, this is seasonal.
Yeah,
This
and
whole
you should be planning for other types of events. I mean, I don't know how
right.
many times I've told people that work in the wedding space, don't rely completely on weddings. You should be looking at other opportunities.
But Shane, but they do. So when when you're on, you build, as I mentioned before, when I first started the business, I came into it, doing doing booths and doing shows and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it. I said, okay, if I'm building all of this, information on wedding wire and the knot and things like that,
Mhm.
then it does pretty much lock me into a wedding hub.
Yep.
So then if I'm looking at corporate, and corporates, Googling me or, looking at information, they're like, well, Shovana, the only thing I see here is, that you do weddings.
That's right.
So in terms of trying to give you a government contract or, our corporate business, throughout a lot of, of big events that we do every year, Do they feel comfortable because that's all they see and what, what they've done in terms of vesting,
Yeah, they're just going to go on to someone else because they
they're
go,
just
oh,
going to go
yeah.
on somebody else.
Yes.
Exactly. That has a little bit more, background in that corporate world. So that's why I didn't pigeonhole myself into, yeah. So if you look, they'll say, well, you're not on the knot, or you're not on the wedding. I did it for a couple of years because I was a novice in the game.
Yeah.
So I did it. But then once I looked at, how practical is that, I went ahead and stopped participating.
Yeah, it's smart. Yeah, it's smart because that now you can spread out a little bit. You're not pigeonholing yourself into a specific cliche, I want to say, right? Like, oh, she's
Right.
just wedding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say are your biggest challenges today? And I know that there's a lot of stuff going on right now, but outside of that, what would you say as a business are your biggest challenges?
Employees, definitely just employees that are, we have great folks, but employees that are just ready to have the passion, to do the job and to assist with executing the service that we, guarantee the client that they would get, by choosing us opposed to our competitors. So for me, I'm always looking for great people, but they have to be a good fit. And so for me, I've found that hasn't been and still isn't a easy thing, even down to my own assistant.
When, with unemployment was, it's going to go up here with what's happening, but it was, really low. So it's hard to find people that don't have jobs. So I think that sometimes it's hard to find the right people. You have to go through a lot of interviews to get the right people. And then even if you hire those people, sometimes they just don't work out. So yeah, I could totally see that as being a really big challenge, especially for an event and rentals and catering, all that stuff. Big challenge.
And Shane, there's been some excellent people. I've had people that have been in the hospitality, working for hotels, big Fortune 500 companies for like 10 years, 15 years. But because they've only done that pretty much in that environment for 10 to 15 years, to come out and try to partner, with somebody such as myself, where I do events at different locations every day. There's, the four walls are never the same.
That's right.
So when that person sends their resume, they look very good. They have everything that I want and everything that I would like to bring into my business. But once I allow them to shadow me, I say, you know what, I would love to have you. Let's do this. Let's come in and you shadow me on 1 to 2 events. So I always try to keep them on a small one, under 100 people. 400 would overwhelm them, right?
Yeah.
Even though they said, oh, I work for, Hilton, blah, blah, blah. We do, massive. It's a totally different beast from a wedding done at the hotel to one done at a different location that this person has done for 15 years only in the hotel.
Yeah.
So at the end of the night, they're like, whoa, I never, although I've been doing this for 15 years with, the Hilton or whoever, being outside of that scope and outside of those walls and really having to think, and be quick on my feet. This is a lot tougher than I. Yeah. So,
yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So for businesses, as a business owner, what advice would you give other businesses?
Definitely. There's so many.
Yeah. One thing.
I think don't be afraid. I think just don't be afraid to fail. I don't care how well the business plan is laid out, Shane. I don't care how, much you thought it out in terms of your business product. At the end of the day, you just have to be willing to make modifications and changes as you go along. Some things may work, some things may not, but for the most part, to not give up. If that is truly your passion, you find a niche and you go with it.
Yeah. Do you find, because I find that maybe 90% of the things I try don't work. and then you just have to keep trying. And then when you find the thing that works, you go, okay, great, this works. How can I make it better? How can I make it better?
Right,
What can I
right.
do? Yeah.
And then you have to look at it and say, okay, why isn't it working? Okay,
Yeah.
you know, if you're taking a look and you're saying, okay, this is the market that I'm in. All right, so based on the market and based on the nature of the beast, you know, what can I put in place to kind of drive it, you know, in the, you know, in a way that would make a profit, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
What's the need? You know, are these the things that clients are asking me for, where I'm finding that I'm resourcing it out all the time? And that's kind of how I pretty much gathered what I needed to kind of keep under my umbrella based on what my clients or potential clients were asking for all the time in terms of me referring them out. So
Yeah. That's smart, because that again, that's like you're looking at your process in your business and you're going, okay, these are the things that I'm subbing out. Does it make sense to continue to sub them out, or can I bring them in-house and make it better, faster, more efficient, right? More cost effective.
right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are the things. Yeah, that's awesome. Last question. What's your best or worst wedding story you got for me?
Well, my best wedding story, I'll give you my best. I won't put anybody out there.
That's awesome. Yeah,
if
your choice, best or worst.
I don't want them to guess. Was she talking about me? My best wedding story was a couple of years ago. This father, his only daughter, Indian wedding, South Indian, beautiful couple. The father sent me, well, we did, it was 3 days, it was 800 guests. Not a glitch. Everything went superb. I think the beautiful thing about the wedding in itself is at the end of the evening, I got an email, like, it wasn't even evening, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, with the father saying, basically, if he had another daughter, he would give her to me.
Wow.
That's awesome. And so I thought that was awesome, you know, for, you know, we get a lot of reviews from the brides and the grooms and things like that. But when you have a father, you know, that had still family in the house, and he had just finished a 3-day event with 800 people, and for him to take the time, you know, to just say, you know what, I couldn't have done it without you. Yeah. That's the thing that makes me keep going. And that's so, it. Yeah. And that's all it takes, is just to say thank you.
Hey, look, if you can help one person, you know, I feel like if I can help one person with what I do, then I'm doing what I need to be doing.
Exactly.
You know, so
exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I keep going, because I'm helping businesses make better decisions and build a competitive advantage, and they tell me all the time, and that's, I mean, you know,
that's the fuel that keeps you going, right?
That's it. Totally the fuel that keeps me going. So yeah, Shovana, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, Shane. Be safe, okay?
Thanks, you as well.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text, 520-399-8580, or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.